A somber anniversary today. It was 78 years ago the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. This afternoon, people gathered in Canal Park in Duluth to remember the lives lost in the bombing and to fight for nuclear disarmament. The event was organized by the Twin Ports campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Members of the coalition held signs, handed out flyers, and asked people to sign a petition. As the only nation to use nuclear weapons in war, organizers say the United States must learn from history.
It's our sacred duty to honor what happened to the people in Hiroshima. We mustn't forget them. We mustn't forget their suffering. And it needs to be a serious lesson for all of us.
And the petition asked the Duluth City Council to pass an advisory resolution which would call on President Biden to support the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. More than 100 cities across the U.S. have passed similar resolutions. To learn more about the grassroots fight against nuclear weapons, visit northernnewsnow.com. And